What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are here post NFL draft. I don't know why my thing is all of a sudden blurring up now that I started
Yeah,
recording.
you are blurry.
That kind of made me mad. All right, we're going post NFL draft. Got a lot to discuss here from the draft.
Yes, sir.
We're here, same two people. You know us. You got me, John, and then you got Matthew over there. What's going on? How you feeling?
Wait. What did he do? What was his name?
Who is
He got
it?
drafted to the Rams. Ty Simpson. That's what he did. LA.
I saw they drafted Ty Simpson and immediately went to Twitter. I didn't even watch his outro. Speaking of Ty Simpson, he is one of the hot topics, but what would you say is one of the bigger things that happened in the draft this past weekend?
Oh man, that's really hard to answer because I felt like there were, especially in the first round, quite a bit of surprises that happened. But if I had to pick one that surprised me the most, I'd probably have to go with Ruben Bain sliding all the way down to number 15 to the Buccaneers. I mean, most people had that dude in mock drafts as like a guaranteed top 10 pick somewhere. Not only that, he was rated on ESPN the second overall at his position with the edge rushers. And NFL teams love their edge rushers. That's part of the reason why David Bailey went number 2. And you saw Arvell Reese kind of slide to number 5 to the Giants there, which great pickup for the Giants. But Ruben Bain sliding all the way to 15 for Tampa Bay was a real surprise for me, but is a huge win for Tampa Bay because some even talked about during the draft that his other teammate Mesidor was an option for them. He ended up going to the Chargers, but Mesidor was an option for them at the 15th pick. Some people felt like that was a reach, but for him to fall all the way to 15, being the second rated best edge rusher in the draft on the consensus board was really surprising to me. But Tampa Bay got a home run pick there at 15.
Yeah, especially because when you first started doing these mock drafts after the championship was done, he was projected to go like 2 or 3. And he just, like, as every month went by up to the draft, he just continued sliding. And I feel like he looked genuinely mad when he got drafted, how far he fell. He looked like his whole night was ruined.
Did you see that he was the only player, like, when he walked down the tunnel, he didn't even look at the mirror. He just grabbed his hat and put it on and walked out.
So inconvenienced.
Yeah, he was mad, which, I mean, rightfully so. If you feel like you're one of the best prospects in the draft and you're sliding, I get it. I was a little surprised, actually. You know, a lot of teams, like, they go into the draft with the mindset of we're going BPA. A lot of teams have that mindset. Best player available, that's who we want. You saw a lot of teams go for needs rather than going for the best player available. And so that's why Tampa Bay got that steal right there at number 15.
Yeah, and I mean his comp, I mean, on the screen here it shows it as Jared Verse, and if he turns out to be Jared Verse, I mean, that's one of the best pickups of the draft, especially where he got picked at. I know there's memes that go around all the time of him supposedly having extremely small arms, so I don't know if that played a factor in how he kind of dropped, but I mean, he's still good. I think he'll still be good, but I don't know. I guess these GMs aren't as high on him as a lot of the fans were that were doing these drafts.
Him and actually the two edge rushers, we'll get into this later, but the two edge rushers with short arms that kind of slid a little bit, Ruben Bain being one of them and Cassius Howell being the other one. He ended up falling to the Bengals at pick 41, but those are two edge rushers that were projected first-round picks. Ruben Bain was projected in the top half, and Cassius Howell was projected in the later half, and both of them slid further than what they were projected, and both had the same scouting report in the sense of short arms there.
Yeah, I would say, at least for me, mine's a little deeper down, and I'm sure we're both shocked at this, is this guy right here, Jamal McCoy. This dude has the opportunity, or not the opportunity, the potential to be by far the best corner in this draft. And I thought, like, when we were going through this stuff, that he would maybe fall to like the late first round, early second. And as each pick went by, like, I feel like we're realizing how scared some of these GMs were of drafting someone with the injury history that he had, even though he still had a really impressive combine, and obviously his tape's really good. But I mean, this has him ranked as the second best corner in the draft, and I mean, he just plummeted all the way to the 4th. So I feel like, good.
To that, what I was going to say was, I think if I read correctly, there was a second issue in his knee involving a bone spur, and that's what teams were nervous about as far as like he was going to need a second surgery. I think that's what caused his slide so far. But, if you're a team like what you were saying, second rated best corner in the draft, and if you're a team that already has two really good corners, why wouldn't you draft him earlier and let him sit out for the year? Get that surgery, get healthy, and then roll him out the following year. I couldn't believe that he fell all the way. What was it, the fourth round?
Yeah, first pick of the
fourth round.
I think it's insane because, at this point, he went from being a high-risk, high-reward type player to a extremely low risk with where he was drafted with a very high reward. Where if he turns out he's your corner one and you have him, at least for the first year, at the value of a fourth-round pick. So I think the Raiders got a big steal here early in the fourth that I think would be really good for them.
I'm pretty sure they traded up for him as well.
Yeah, with Buffalo. Or from Tennessee to Buffalo.
So he was sitting there and he was like, we got to get our guy. Yeah, it was a great move.
Yeah. And even I like looking at who these people think their comps are, and if he turns out to be Christian Gonzalez, it's going to be talked about how he fell to the fourth round all season long.
Yeah.
Because if he is healthy and he's able to play the full season, he could be a dog.
Yep. And the Raiders also, you got to consider the moves that they made on defense this year. They get to keep Max Crosby. Then on top of that, they went out and got Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker in free agency. They've really tried to revamp that defense. And so if he turns out to be what his draft type is supposed to be, that's going to be a great defense.
Yeah, and they still got potential on the offense, too, with now bringing in Mendoza, who I'm not fully sold on that he's going to be great, but I think that he has time to grow. And he's surrounded by two people Brock Bowers had a down year last year, but he's arguably the best tight end in the NFL. And then you got Ashton Genty, who, once you get your offense competently moving, is going to be a terrific running back. I feel like they're building a young team on both sides of the ball that, I could see here in a couple of years them being a playoff team.
Yeah, I think I read, too, that their plan is to have Kirk Cousins start next year, and they want Mendoza to learn behind him for about a year before he moves into his role. I also really love the coach that the Raiders got. You look at Seattle's offense last year, Jackson Smith-Njigba was the only wide receiver on the team. Raheem Shaheed is good, but he's not a superstar wide receiver, too, like other teams have. Shaheed gives you a lot in the kickoff punt return game. But their coach, he really knows how to open up the offense for these players to excel. And you look at Sam Darnold, had a great postseason. I think for the regular season, he led the league in turnovers or maybe interceptions, but he didn't turn the ball over one time in the postseason. And their coach knows how to get their players open. So the Raiders, they have a lot to look forward to this coming year.
Yeah, and he had JSN, he had Cooper Kupp, which Cooper Kupp was not the same Cooper Kupp that was on the Rams. He was a shell. It was a shell of who he was, and he made JSN look like one of the best wide receivers the world's ever seen. So it'll be interesting to see how. I think it's smart for them to sit Mendoza full year, because I think if they tried to start him week one, I think that they would struggle significantly, and I think that would stunt his growth significantly. And I think him sitting a year behind somebody who's a proven veteran like Kirk Cousins, I feel like is going to set him up for future success. Where it's pretty much balls in his court on if he's going to be able to grow to that next level to be a elite quarterback.
Right. And that's obviously always the hope with the number one overall picks, is you want them to be elite. Just to be good is kind of a letdown, considering the investment that they're making into him, for sure.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We've got our 3 winners and 3 losers of the draft. I feel like there's a lot of different routes that you can go with both of these. I'm going to do 3 winners. He's going to do 3 losers. My first one of a winner, you can call it a cop-out, you can call it whatever, I don't care. I think it's the Giants and the Bengals. I think that trade, people hated it, people loved it, but I think that trade immensely benefited both sides. The Bengals got that knockout defensive tackle that they need, and the Giants got Francis Malioga with that 10th overall pick, which they needed. So I feel like both teams had success in that trade that they desperately needed. But I would mainly in this one take the Bengals out of it, since we've been talking about it. The Giants' first 3 picks were phenomenal. If you told the Giants, hey, at 5, Arvell Reese is going to be available, I don't think they believe you. The fact that he slid all the way to 5th for them, and they were able to grab Malioga with the 10th, and were able to grab Colton Hood in the second. I think that those are 3 phenomenal pickups for them that I feel like any New York Giants fan's thrilled to have. So that's my first winner. Again, that trade, you could have got Bengals could have got Downs, could have got Bain. Wouldn't have made sense. Dexter Lawrence is a knockout hit. I think that both of those teams won that trade, which is rare. I feel like a lot of times, like you look at the Caleb Williams trade with the Panthers. You look back at that trade and they got fleeced, the Panthers. When you look back at that trade, like there's trades like that turn out and you're like, dog, you guys got railroaded.
Yeah.
And people try to say that about the Rams and the Lions, but it's like you got Stafford and you got a Super Bowl. That's better than anybody the Lions could pick up until they win a Super Bowl. Yeah. But this trade, it's like one person got your potential future right tackle, I believe, for the next 10 years, 15 years, and the other team that's in a must-win now with superstars all over got another superstar nose tackle that they desperately need. So this is one of those trades that are looking to be like, wow, this is a win-win. Both teams got something that they need to improve their team.
I will say too, like with the Giants, I like your assessment on them, especially one of my favorite picks for them was Colton Hood. We're talking about a division that loves their receivers. The Giants have got to figure out a way to deal with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens twice a year. They got to figure out for now, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Mekhi Lemon, Devontae Wicks, which there's all these rumors that A.J. Brown will be traded to New England after June 1st. But still, you still have plenty of weapons there that they have to deal with, and you got to deal with Washington with Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. Did Washington go receiver this draft? I don't remember.
They might have, but they took Sonny Styles with the 7th pick.
Yeah, they didn't get I don't think they got a high-end player. So you're talking about a division that has weapons that are forces to be reckoned with. Obviously, the best duo is CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens by far. It's not even a comparison, but I mean, you need those corners if you're the Giants to be successful in that division. So I love that pick for them.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I mean, you got, again, Arvell Reese, who many people believe, I mean, this dude's a freak athlete, him and Sonny Styles both. Most people thought he was going 3rd overall, and he fell an extra 2 spots to the Giants. Absolute steal, even at number 5, where you're drafting a blue-chip player almost 99% of the time. You got an absolute stud. Got arguably the best offensive tackle in the draft. You got a cornerback that has a potential to start, I feel like, right away. I don't know, and going into deep detail, but I feel like these top 3 picks are super home run hits for the Giants. So I think they're happy with how that turned out. Give me your first loser.
So my first loser, in my opinion, like it's not even close. I just did not agree with one single pick they made, and it was the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one of those teams where, like, you almost, like, right there in the middle. Right in the middle.
You just talk, I'll find it.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about a team where from the draft, they almost went backwards. I mean, they were in the playoffs last year, and now I'm wondering if they're even a better team than they were last year. I truly, I wonder sometimes if GM is thinking that they are just outsmarting the entire NFL with some of these picks. This tight end they got from A&M in the 2nd round was like the Bengals taking Drew Sample, because that's when they took Drew Sample back when they drafted him, was the 2nd round. People are like, what are we doing? This dude would have been there in the 6th or 7th. So they had, I will say this, I won't dog on Jacksonville the entire time. I'm going to give them one thing as far as credit goes, and that's going to be that 3rd round pick, or the 2nd 3rd round pick they had, and that was that guard from Oregon, Emmanuel. Is it Pregnon? How do you say his last name?
Pregnon.
So
I don't know.
I mean, you got the 3rd best guard in the draft down there in the 3rd round, and obviously, you know, as we talk about on here quite a bit, protecting your quarterback is like the most important thing. So Trevor Lawrence just got a really good player all the way down there in the 3rd round. I saw most mock drafts as this dude has a high 2nd round pick, and he just kind of slid down the board. So it's kind of like Tampa Bay getting Ruben Bain, or like we talked about the Raiders getting Jermod McCoy. That's kind of like a home run pick for them. That is the one pick that I felt they got right. Everything else was just an absolute head scratcher for me. I did not understand a single bit of it. But, you know, and it started with that tight end. in the second round. I mean, this dude was ranked 160th overall. I mean, you just consider how the board was, and this is what they went with. Did not make any sense to me. I just don't understand the pick. And that's how I felt about a lot of their picks. You could even go down, go to their first third round pick. So if you were to go to the other screen, go to the third round pick and like the overall draft, and then go down to that dude's name.
What pick was that?
He was pick number 17. Yeah, there. Yep.
All right, here.
So right there. Yep. So you see him there again. Like they're sitting at the 81st pick in the draft. And once again, they're reaching for a dude that his overall rank was in the back half. I mean, we're talking a 5th or 6th round grade. And as you and I talked about, a lot of these like 5th, 6th round grade guys even went undrafted. So it's like, I don't know. I felt like every single pick minus that offensive guard, they reached. And I just was not a fan of their entire draft.
Yeah, and you kind of look at the Jaguars too. They lost Travis Achan. They got Travis Hunter, who they drafted to be. I mean, he played wide receiver and corner, but now it's looking like he's going to be a full-time corner. And you gave up a lot for that. And I mean, that's one of those trades too that so far it's looking like the Browns fleeced you. They're getting Mason Graham. I can't remember who they got with their pick in the late first.
Yeah, they would have got that wide receiver, KC Concepcion.
Yeah, from they're getting a massive need of wide receiver. Like I feel like the Jaguars are not they're not on the same page right now with what they need versus what they're doing.
Yeah, and again, the reason why I really was not a fan, and this is going to be a common theme almost with my 3 losers, but these guys specifically, I felt like took the biggest step backwards when it comes to their draft. I was not a fan.
Yeah. I don't know what we're thinking here. I mean, this guy he didn't have any stats or anything to really show you. It's like drafting, in my opinion, like JJ McCarthy. I don't know anything about this guy, but JJ McCarthy, it was like, this dude's a handoff merchant. He's terrible. I knew that from the second they drafted him 7th overall that the Vikings are going to struggle offensively because that dude's terrible. So I could definitely see Jacksonville struggling because they chose to not improve their team at all outside of drafting a guard in the 3rd.
I feel like you and I kind of did. You know how we were head scratching the Bengals 4th round pick with that receiver. I feel like this is kind of like what the Jaguars did. They took the player that they just had a vision on. Didn't matter about anything. We just have this vision for him, and we're just drafting him. And yeah, I don't know. Every pick for me, -1 was a head scratcher.
And I just don't understand. Like, I feel like unless these scouts for these teams know something that we don't, I don't understand why they feel this overwhelming pressure to reach for these guys that are not going to be like they could have got him in the 3rd, probably the 4th, probably the 5th, probably the 6th. Like we're sitting here pressuring ourselves to draft the 160th ranked overall tight end with no statistics whatsoever, second in the 2nd round. So I don't know if this dude behind the scenes had like meetings with them and was just blew them away. But this is just one of those ones where it's like, did you click the wrong button? Like, did you get the name confused? Like, what are we doing?
Imagine getting that name confused.
I could agree with that. I don't think that they had any names outside of that guard from Oregon. I don't think they had any names that you look at and you're like, oh, immediate impact on the team.
Yeah.
For me, my second winner, I wrote down a couple, but I'm gonna go with a player. I feel like he is not this team. I feel like he's a winner of the draft because of where he got drafted, which is Kalen Rutledge. This is one of those players that I feel like in most mocks he was going late 2nd, early 3rd. I'm not understanding why the Texans drafted him in the 1st. I don't know if there was just pressure. You're scratching your head. I don't know if they were feeling this like pressure or something, where they felt like they had to get him now before someone else did. I feel like for Rutledge, though, he probably wasn't even ready to get the phone call. He was probably gaming, or he was probably watching the draft, just eating dinner. I mean, good for him. I don't see the logic with, again, another player that you probably could have gotten in the second round that you reached for with your first overall pick or with your first round pick.
Especially too when we're talking about a dude that like that Oregon guard we were just talking about that Jacksonville drafted. He was rated higher than this dude, and he went 2 rounds later.
Yeah.
So
I mean, most mock pretty much all the mock drafts that I drafted a guard, it was usually him in like the third. Like he was always available in the third, sometimes the fourth. I feel like in a way they're losers because the Texans chose to draft him this early, but he's a winner because he's getting paid more because they drafted him so early. Mm-hmm. So I hope he turns out. I think he'll be decent, but I feel like that's just a win for him that they chose to reach on him in the first when he could have got drafted later.
I think this is ultimately too, like, this is one of the issues with teams. Like, when you don't address your needs in free agency, you go into the draft feeling like you just have to get your guys. Doesn't matter, like, kind of where you're at and what pick it is. You're just ensuring that you get the whole field with the guy that you want. And so that's why, you know, most people, like most teams prioritize, like, we've got to go into the draft where we're set up to take BPA. Because if you cannot take the best player available, then like you have this stuff where you're just kind of reaching. I also think though too, we saw a lot of reaching this year because there was a lot of reports coming out that teams really only felt like there was like, you know, 8 blue chip players in this draft. And everybody else was kind of, you know, average or just kind of that borderline starter material. So I also wonder too if that's kind of like what happened with teams this year in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, and you like you can compare this guy to like even who the Bengals got with Brian Parker in the 6th. Brian Parker has just as much upside as this guy, and we got him in the 6th. Like right. I feel like you didn't need to reach like that for this guy unless you know something and nobody else does. I think that this was a super early reach for the Texans, but a super big win for Rutledge.
This pick, I don't know if you remember this or not. This pick reminds me of when I want to say it was 2022 or 2021, the New England Patriots at the end of the first round drafted Cole Strange. And yes. He was just like this dude, a guard that was projected in the 3rd or 4th round, and everybody was like, what are they doing? Well, he's not on New England anymore. He's now on the Chargers protecting Justin Herbert. They just signed him, so you know, he didn't get a second. I don't think he got a second contract from the team. So, you know, you fear that, you know, this will kind of be another one of those scenarios.
Yeah, and I mean, you're getting the I don't know, for lack of a better term, the recoil of trading away your entire offensive line last year, because now you're going from where you could have drafted several different options. You could have got a wide receiver, not a wide receiver. You don't really need that. You could have got a tight end. You could have got a tight end, but you could have got really any position that you wanted, but you were forced to draft an offensive lineman because you traded away Laramie Tunsil. You traded away, I believe, as another offensive lineman. You trade away all these pieces to the point of where Stroud's either going to get hurt this year, or you have to spend your premium picks on offensive line. So this is kind of that ripple effect of trading away your entire offensive line because now you have to draft an offensive line to replace that.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, so that's my second one. Give me your second loser.
My second loser is another team as a whole. I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. They were much like Jacksonville, where, you know, I don't know if you saw the video, but a reporter called them out, like the GM and the coach. He was like, why are you guys reaching for players that are you're taking them well before what the consensus board says? And so this was much like the Jaguars in the sense where they're drafting guys way ahead of where they should have been drafted. I will say that the reason why I put the 49ers second ahead of Jacksonville is because I trust San Francisco's ownership and their coaching staff a lot more than I do Jacksonville's. So if we're talking about guys that, you know, see potential in a player and are going to get the most out of them for where they drafted them, I would trust the 49ers more there. But yeah, like you got that receiver pulled up right there. They took him with the 33rd pick, and this dude was rated the 15th. I think it was the 15th best receiver, right?
Yes.
He was projected like an early 4th round pick, I think. And so you're looking at taking him with that early pick. Not only that, but like from a organization standpoint, they almost feel like they had to reach as well because of everything going on with Brandon Ayuk. This dude, who the owner has already said has played his last snap in a 49er uniform, and they just paid him before he got hurt, or it was either right after he got hurt. They just agreed to a contract extension, and this dude hasn't even played a snap for him. So you almost feel like they were in a position where they had to like get their guy, kind of a theme that we've been talking about. Teams just really wanting to get the guy that they want. I felt like that's what they did here. And, I felt like even like a lot of the draft experts, even taking Kalen Black there in the 3rd round, the running back out of Indiana, a lot of them rated that as a D because they just felt like he was drafted way higher than he should have. They didn't like the fit. So I was not a fan of their draft either. So I just...
And this team is different in a way too with the Jaguars, where they were a playoff team. They're borderline contenders, just missing. I mean, they were missing Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, so they were depleted heavily on the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, you had Juwan Jennings, who's a good player. You had George Kittle also went down with an injury. You had obviously CMC was a big chunk of their offense. So you could say their glaring hole was wide receiver, but I mean, I feel like, again, unless the fans are missing something, you had I don't know where they were, Denzel Boston and Jeremy Bernard, wherever he's at, right here, who were arguably better receivers than who they went with. So it's one of those things where I feel like you have to have a plan in the background that nobody knows about, because it doesn't make sense why we're taking a lesser ranked player over proven players that most people believe are better.
Right. Yeah, they, I guess we'll kind of, I think for my losers that I think I'm going to pick like one thing that I do like about them. So that way it doesn't sound like I'm being like completely negative about them. But the one pick that I liked from them was they got that corner from Washington and Prysock. A lot of people have kind of, they got him in I think it was the fourth round.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that was the dude on the other side of the ball from the dude that the Bengals drafted, Decario Davis or Decario from Washington. A lot of people, depending on who you talk to, felt like this dude was a little bit better. He was kind of like Igbinosin a couple years ago in the sense where he had like 15 penalties last year. So he has to clean those up. The penalties definitely got to him, but a lot of people think that this dude has the traits to be a starting cornerback in the NFL for a number of years. So I do like this pick from them, and I do like where they got him.
Yeah, I mean, and overall, like I would say, outside of the Bengals, 49ers are one of the teams that I really enjoy watching, especially late in the season last year. They had some insane games, especially the game against the Seahawks, where I think it was like tied with like no time left and they scored. I think their offense is explosive. Their defense is really good. They're contenders. They just got to stay healthy, and they have that flexibility. And I feel like with the reach, that was definitely, I mean, obviously we both agree that wasn't needed, but I feel like these next 3 picks were pretty decent. You got Halton, Romello Height, and Kalen Black. I feel like are 3 pretty solid pickups. Especially, you got to get a running back that can get some stress off of Christian McCaffrey. You're going to kill the dude because he's not going to be able to maintain that type of workload every season. Eventually, he's going to run out of steam, and your offense is going to have to be completely adjusted.
Is he? What is he? 29? Is he 30 yet? So
McCaffrey, I want to say he might be 30.
He's getting to that age, so they definitely got to find something to.
He turns 30 this year before the season starts.
So, that's gonna be a tough one for them. I mean, they're gonna have to figure out Plan B because 30 for a running back. Derrick Henry is like one of the few that have stayed like in their time during that age. So we'll see how that plays out.
And you could see the fall off of players like Kamara, who used to be up there with CMC and Derrick Henry, and he's just kind of, I'm pretty sure he got hit with injuries, and he's just kind of fallen off a cliff where his skill set and production seems to have plummeted.
Yep.
Me though, my 3rd pick, it was kind of like tough to decide between these 2 teams. I'm gonna give them an honorable mention of the Dolphins. I feel like they had a solid 4 picks that I can think of off the top of my head in the draft. Being Proctor at offensive tackle, Chris Johnson at corner, and then 2 linebackers with Jacob Rodriguez and Kyle Lewis. I feel like they had a solid draft, but I'm going to go with my 3rd winner as the Dallas Cowboys. They got who most people think is arguably the most NFL-ready, skilled player in the draft in Caleb Downs, while also drafting 2 edge rushers in Lawrence, I can't remember his first name, and just Jayshon Barham from Michigan,
Yep.
which Barham was a linebacker, I believe, for a while at Michigan, and he recently switched over to edge, so he's got that dual history. I think that as a team, they ranked 30th out of 32 teams, which when I was like researching that earlier, and the Bengals offense, at least in total defense statistically, was better than the Cowboys, which watching the Bengals every week, I was like, that's not possible. The Bengals are giving up 600 points a game. But the Cowboys were worse with, again, just as an explosive of an offense as the Bengals. So I feel like their first 3 picks, with pairing them with players like Quinnen Williams, was a big W by them. Especially, I mean, they traded up. They did not want to take any risks losing Caleb Downs, because if he pans out how most people think, he's going to renovate your defense.
For sure.
So that was my pick. I didn't look too much into the rest of their draft. I just looked at those first few picks, and Malachi Lawrence, that's his name. And even Devin Moore and LT Overton. I saw those two as I was doing mock drafts, and I mean, those two also play into a role of upside on that team. But you look at your first 3 picks, I feel like those are 3 very solid picks for a team that has to improve on the defensive side of the ball. Nobody knows what they're going to do with George Pickens. He got franchise tagged, and he signed it. A lot of people are thinking that was him just getting ready to get traded to a different team. He's still with them. Seems like he's going to be with them for the season, so their offense is going to come back out just as explosive with the same pieces that they had. But you had to shore up some holes on defense.
For sure.
But that will be my number 3. Those are my 3. I think there's several other winners of the draft, but obviously I think the Bengals were winners, but those are my 3. Give me your final big fat loser of the draft.
The one thing I will say before I go into this, I'm giving an honorable mention for your winner. And I think a winner is Bo Nix. I think Denver has had a great offseason for him. They brought in Jalen Waddle, and then they also drafted Jonah Coleman, which me personally, like, that was behind Jeremiah Love, my favorite running back in this draft. A loser I could throw out there is RJ Harvey, but that's kind of a boring one. He's really not that much of he's not a superstar or anything like that, so I'm not going to throw him out there. But I do think that Jonah Coleman and J.K. Dobbins are about to take over that backfield. RJ Harvey kind of gives you more of that receiving threat. But I mean, outside of just for their draft, going offense after the first pick, I think they went offense for the next few picks. But I think Bo Nix has just a great chance to really thrive this next year now that he has a legit wide receiver too.
Yeah, bringing in Waddle while also having Courtland Sutton. I mean, Waddle can take the roof off the place. Yep. He's lightning fast. And Waddle's probably been dying to be with a quarterback that can hit him in stride. So I think that both of them are going to improve at least together offensively in regards to efficiency significantly more than at least Jalen Waddle was last year.
For sure. So for my last loser, I'm actually going with a player on this one. I've kind of been going back and forth as to which player I wanted to do because I can't really decide. But those 2 players I've been going back between has been Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield here, mainly because, he lost Mike Evans to the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, for those first few games last year, you and I remember Emeka Egbuka seemed like he was the next superstar of the league for the first, 6 games?
Yeah.
And then he kind of fell off after that. His production went way down. So I think that Mike Evans helps open up that offense for him, along having Chris Godwin. I'll be honest, for Baker Mayfield's stance, I just question how much of losing Mike Evans is going to affect that offense, because we saw how much it affected them last year when Mike Evans wasn't there. So I'm just not really sure. I thought that Tampa Bay would maybe spend a higher premium pick to get a receiver or a weapon for Baker Mayfield. They didn't do that. I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on it, but I'm not. And I'll say this too. I do not believe in Todd Bowles. I don't like their head coach. I never have. I thought they should have fired him this offseason and gotten someone else. So that's another factor in for my reason behind Baker Mayfield as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at their wide receiver core. They had Egbuka, who, again, a phenomenal rookie season. They had Chris Godwin, who literally had just what felt like endless injuries the entire season.
Yep.
And then they had Tez Johnson and Jalen McMillan on their bench. And they splashed like a couple games where they're putting up good one-play touchdowns and things like that.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, their entire wide receiver core has been underwhelming besides Ibuka. And obviously
Right.
Mike Evans. But now that it's pretty much just Ibuka and hopefully a healthy Godwin, like you're looking at, and I mean, you're gonna get Bucky Irving back, who's another solid player on their team with Cade Otton, but you're not as explosive offensively as you should be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about here's another reason why I don't believe in Todd Bowles is we're talking about a division that is the worst in the NFL by far. The winner of that division is like 9-8 every year and squeaking into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got Carolina and you got Atlanta in that division. You got New Orleans. So it's not a good division. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have arguably had outside of the Falcons, because the Falcons have kind of massively, what's the word I'm looking for? They've underperformed according to what their expectations were as well. But I mean, we're talking about a division where the team that wins the division and goes into the playoffs they never have a good record on books, and they kind of squeak in there. And you know, for a coach to have a Tampa Bay team like that, kind of barely squeaking by, I just don't believe in him. And I don't feel like going into this season that Baker Mayfield is set up in the best situation to succeed.
And you look at like the Panthers and Buccaneers side by side, you would think the Buccaneers are significantly a better team. But the Panthers still made the playoffs with Bryce Young,
Yep.
who nobody believed in, and he and I mean Rico Dowdle had a phenomenal out of nowhere superstar performance while Chuba Hubbard was injured. But you're looking at a team that really should not have made the playoffs from that division, and that's on all of the Buccaneers on how they let that happen. Like how are you losing to a team?
Right.
Who, we look at the two rosters, you're significantly better than.
Right. So, guess we'll see how the season plays out. But you know, they also lost Liam Cohen, obviously, to Jacksonville, and you know that was some of Baker Mayfield's best years was with him as the offensive coordinator. So we're gonna see, but I don't know. I just don't like the upcoming year for Baker.
Yeah.